Hello and welcome to the No Shave Man Cave, a podcast brought to you by two veterans talking about wrestling and a bunch of other stuff. I'm Ellie Jair.
Jay Tully.
And we are here in the cave, and we're sitting around talking, and we think it's time for the week in review.
Yeah, so what we're going to try to do is our standard weekly show that we're going to drop every Monday. It should go out. Ideally, what we want to do is have a recap of the previous week. By no means are neither of us analysts. We have never taken a bump. Well, I mean, I went to school a little bit, but I'll say I've never taken a bump. We've never deep dived. We're not sports analysts, none of that. It's just two, like you said, veterans sitting around talking about wrestling. We're going to hit the highlights, the lowlights, what we saw that we enjoyed, what we saw that kind of bored us, or whatever the case may be across the shows. That's kind of the basis of it. Going to just be a straightforward two fans talking about wrestling and what they wanted to see. I will say it's been really tough because going through the whole week and seeing Jared at work and not talking about wrestling because we tried to save it for this is a little more challenging than I thought it was going to be. That's okay, though. We're going to do it now. I have to say one thing, though. What a hell of a week we got to cover this week.
It has been really good, and watching some of the vignettes, the build up to Royal Rumble for WWE specifically, and then, AEW's doing their part, and Impact has been putting on a good show as well. So it has been a really, really good week.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had the Raw 30 show, and then we had that Dynamite show, which was a powerful show too. I obviously will kick it off. We'll start at the beginning, which is where you should start, which is Raw. So full transparency, I have probably not watched a full Raw episode in a long time. I tend to record them, skip through them, listen to other podcasts like Busted Open or the What Culture Guys. Any of those podcasts that everybody listens to kind of go, oh, maybe that one is worth watching, and I'll go watch the highlights of it. With us starting to do this now and the plan of us continuing this process, I did watch it beginning to end. I have to say I really enjoyed it. There's parts of it I could have gone without. I absolutely loved the trial of Sammy in the beginning. I just thought, following it as I have been and knowing kind of what was going on with it, the way they laid it out and just the acting in it and the surprise and the trial. Paul Heyman is just great on the mic, and when he looked at Sammy and said, I wish he was dead too after the ECW being dead, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it tremendously. Sammy's reaction, Sammy refusing to defend himself, and then of all people, Jey Uso being the one to stop the execution was amazing. Probably as far as vignettes go, was probably my high point of the week, that one. As we talk through, I may come change that, but for right now, as it started, Raw 30, turned it on, ignoring the first few minutes with Hogan, because that is what it is. I enjoyed that trial part. The show overall, though, it was hit or miss. I mean, the tag team match, the Usos, tag team match with the Judgment Day was great. I thought the story was very well done in that. I love the callback to they did the long tournament and they were able to substitute on the the Judgment Day side, that letting Sammy substitute in and then get the win. Like that whole thing, just that whole story, that probably her whole first hour of Raw, I really enjoyed. Then I got into all the other stuff. Things that I don't even remember, some of it, vignettes, some of the other stuff that happened. The DX thing where they came out, I thought I was going to hate it. I laughed my ass off.
I honestly thought it was going to go back to and I'm doing air quotes, the old WWE, and how the legends would come out and bury current talent because they wanted to get themselves over. And Triple H going, hey, I'm retired. I got nothing for you. I thought that was awesome. And you had mentioned during the tag team match that how they reference back to when they allowed a previous substitution. And, the old WWE would have been like, hey, we want you to forget that. We're ready. Right. We're moving on to the next episode. You got to forget that. So
Goldfish memory.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was a perfect twist. All of this it was a really good flow. A lot of backstage scenes, but I mean, it's the anniversary show, so they wanted to get a lot of people on. But yeah, I totally agree. I thought the tag team match was awesome, and Sammy playing his role deserves an Oscar, so it was good.
Yeah. The DX stuff was great. Like, same thing. I thought it was going to be, oh gosh, they're going to come out. And then when it was Imperium that came out, I'm like, oh man, are they really going to bury Imperium? And then it was like, nope, I'm retired. Oh, I got shit. I laughed and laughed. And then the whole booking part, and he's like, oh, you think this booking's easy? I had a really good time with that. Then they did roll into some of the burying the talent with Barrett and Corbin in the back and the poker game and all that stuff. I also got a kick out of the Godfather not letting them into the poker game. Yeah. And then they walk around and it's just a door frame. Yeah. Like, I thought that was great. Or not great, but it was good enough.
Colin Bear and Corbin Barry.
Yep.
That was good.
But it was a 3-hour show, and that's about all I can think of as far as highlights, other than maybe Brock Lesnar at the end.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar getting some licks in. You know, some of the forgettable stuff, obviously, with LA Knight, Bray Wyatt. You know, I'm a huge LA Knight fan.
I did forget about that, yeah.
But it's like, where is it going? Can we, see something? Tonight is Royal Rumble, and we're going to see the Blackout match, so I'm super excited to see where that's going to go.
Yeah, I had forgotten about the Bray Wyatt stuff, and it was okay. Again, like I said in the beginning, we're fans. We're gonna try to review these as fans. We might get deep into some of it and some of the storytelling. Yeah. But my idea is like my first response, my first reaction in Raw was I enjoyed the show. I guess because of some of the real highlights were high to the point where I was like, man, I had fun, especially because I hadn't watched it in a while, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a nice welcome back. If you'd been away from wrestling, would it be you take a non-wrestling fan and go, hey, I want you to watch this episode of Raw and you will fall back in love with wrestling? Absolutely not. But if you wanted to catch a couple of pops and, remember some of the old days, definitely, you would have gotten a couple of chuckles and stuff. But yeah, overall, not the worst 3 hours of wrestling that we've seen on Monday night. It was, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. Like I said, we tried not to talk about it through work, but I remember at the beginning of the week you said you didn't like the show, which I thought was ironic because you're the WWE guy, and I enjoyed it. So I was curious,
That first hour, I looked at the clock, and it dawned on me, I'm like, I just watched an hour of wrestling. I don't even remember how it started. The following day on Tuesday, I was cleaning up in the kitchen and I watched it again and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, haha, kind of funny. Good way to start the week.
Yeah. So I know we should roll into Dynamite next, but I'd like to save Dynamite to the end.
Yeah.
Just because of what that show was and some of the emotions in that show. I think it's probably going to be a little bit downer towards the end of the show, but I mean, there's some great stuff in there, but I'd like to roll into probably Smackdown and Rampage next.
Yeah.
I'll let you leave off on Smackdown and your impressions of it. I know you recently watched it, so we can kind of cover it, and then I'll give you some of the things I got.
Yeah, I didn't do my homework. So matches in themselves, I'm a big Ricochet fan, so it was good to see Ricochet on TV. The intro and the build-up, some of the attitude that you got to see, they're right there in Texas right now, kind of priming the crowd. And then Lacey Evans with her stop again, start again, back to the basics, a disciple of the Sarge without Sarge being on TV. So, yeah, interesting. A lot of backstage stuff. They did play a lot of vignettes. The commercials were really good, too, how they're building up for the Royal Rumble. Michael Cole and Wade Barrett, good not symmetry, but good balance on how they're building people. And then the final match, the twists again, seeing Sammy, and that I thought that was pretty solid.
Yeah, I watched it twice. I watched it live on TV when it was on, and then I got up and watched it again just because I didn't remember a whole lot of it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, was I tired? So I watched it again. I think it was in the trap of it's the show right before Royal Rumble. I feel like I think I made a joke to you about. It was a 2-hour show, and I think there's 4 matches on it. Whereas you watch Rampage, it's a 1-hour show, and there was 4 matches on it.
Yep.
But I understand that they're building for the Rumble, so you've got the promo train that comes out, and everybody talks about it. And then it was Austin Theory, The Miz, and then the New Day, or I might have those flipped. And then Bobby Lashley comes out and trashes everybody, and then Brock Lesnar comes out and trashes him. So I understand the purpose of all that. Is it essential viewing? I didn't think so. I think I could have skipped this SmackDown and rolled into Royal Rumble and no real storyline missed or anything really changed. LA Knight, obviously with Bray Wyatt and then Uncle Howdy showing up. Well, we all kind of knew that was coming anyway.
Right.
The end with, I'll back it up. The beginning with Sammy and the staying out of the building and just saying, hi, I love you, I'm leaving, was great. The fact that Jay made a phone call, we assumed to him, to call him to come in and support Sikoa. And then at the end, him showing up and costing and stopping the match. That part, good stuff.
Right.
Like, that could have been condensed. Thought it was great. Kind of curious where it's going to go. We'll see what happens in the Rumble. I'm sure they'll address it. But the rest of it was there. You had the tag team tournament stuff. Haven't been watching a lot of it. The matches were decent. No 5-star matches, or they're probably 3-star, 2.25 maybe. But it was there. It wasn't something like I feel like I had to watch.
Right, and you would think with a go home show, you want it to be strong, but at the same time, you're like, man, I don't want to get anybody hurt. The New Day, they're always entertaining, and they were really, really good. The little, I don't want to say Easter eggs because it's not quite like that, but the little sprinkling in that Kevin Owens was doing, especially at the end when he was like, he had the chair and he looked at Sammy and he was like, they're going to use this on you, just watch. And he threw the chair down. I'm like, oh man, he's peppering those shadows of doubt.
That's a good catch. I didn't catch that until you said that. That was good.
Like little shadows of doubt, and you watch Dynamite or maybe it was Rampage when Jericho was like sprinkling in, causing deceit in some of the factions.
Yep.
And that's just, I mean, Jericho's gold, but I think the Kevin Owens going in and just kind of messing with Sammy's head, and he just had the trial. Don't show up. He shows up. Roman's in New York on TV, sitting there with the talk show host. Like, that's that's going to be interesting. Is that going to come up tonight during the Royal Rumble?
Right. Yeah, that's curious.
There's another little sprinkle of thread to the bloodline story, which is, they just said it today, 800 and something days Roman's been a champion, and the bloodline has been far and away the best story in all of wrestling. It's just it's awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then Rampage, we're rolling into Rampage. So you made a comment earlier that you didn't like watching Rampage, so I'll let you touch on that when you get to it. I enjoy Rampage. I like it. It's a 1-hour show. It's quick. Get in, get out. Yes, the quality for a long time was not there. I feel like they've made strides to get better. I do think this Rampage suffered a little bit for what Dynamite was, which we'll get into Dynamite too, but with it being the tribute show, and I believe Rampage was taped at the end of Dynamite, so the crowd just went on this huge emotional roller coaster with that tribute match at the end and rolled right into trying to, cheer for the best friends or laugh at Danhausen. So they had a hard time. What really impressed me at Rampage Den was good. I enjoyed it. I thought the Yuta Hangman Page match, fantastic. Again, you guys will learn I'm a big AEW fan. I don't miss them. But I thought that match was great. I thought hard-hitting, some very good storytelling in there. I liked that Hangman Page hit the buckshot lariat, then picked Yuta up and hit him with Moxley's finisher. Because the Hangman character, that's not a thing of him to do. He's not a vengeful. He's not. And it's almost like he's trying to adjust his character to be able to take it to Moxley again. I thought that was good. There was a couple spots that I thought were great. The Avalanche Death Valley Driver, chef's kiss. It looked great. I don't know how he didn't break his neck. Then Yuta's German suplex on the ring apron to hold on to him to do a release German suplex on the ground. Oh my gosh! Like, how does he not being concussed again? Some of the stuff they do blows my mind.
Yeah, anything on the side of the ring, I get the little pucker factor. Like, don't do it, man. And they're so stiff, and they do a lot of work with the Japanese wrestlers.
Yep.
And the Japanese wrestlers land so high, and you see nuances of that because they, there is so much exchange with the talent, and they, participate in some of the Noah and the New Japan shows and DDT and Gorilla and stuff. So it was, and you talk about the match of the night. It's got to be Jamie Hayter.
Oh man, I hadn't even gotten to that one yet.
She brings it. She's so
every time
crisp, and I was super impressed. And like you said, I don't necessarily like watching Rampage, to the fans out there, we live in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's the home of AEW, and we would go to the shows at Daly's place when there was 1,000 people in a place that holds 9,000,
Yep.
and you were going when there was like 20 wrestlers and 100 fans or
Yep.
whatever. So the loyalty that we feel to AEW and to the crowd and to the fans and to the wrestlers, and it it feels like a hometown team. So it kind of hurt me not wanting to watch Rampage. And you're like, well, you watched 3 hours of wrestling on Monday, but I've been at work all week. I just sat down and watched Friday Night Smackdown. I was or wasn't disappointed. Now I got to watch another hour. This episode changed my attitude and the lens that I'm going to look at it. The main reason why I think this specific show was so flat is like what you said. It was recorded after an emotional night. And I'll let you talk about the promo of the night. Eddie,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it took me because I was like, there's a couple going like I thought the Britt Baker Ruby Soho sprinkle in those season was decent.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Eddie Kingston one, I don't know. Probably promo of Rampage maybe, because I don't know where they're going to go with it. I don't see Eddie really joining the House of Black, but that's absolutely what they seem to be hinting at. I do think unhinged, violent Eddie could be a lot of fun on TV.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a real guy. Like, you feel like you believe he's doing what he can do, and I think him letting his demons out, as he said, could be very interesting and could definitely lead down to some good storylines. My only fear is now for turning him heel, there goes the big, the fans all wanted him to be the one to beat MJF as the babyface, and if he goes heel, I don't think that'll happen. But that promo was great. Yeah. But talking about the Hater, was it Sakura match? I've seen some of her stuff, both of them, in the past, but that was such a intense match that I love what Jamie Hayter's. So I loved what Toni Storm did as a women's champion. Mm-hmm. I thought she brought, not that there's anything against Thunder Rosa and all that. I think Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker before her and Sheeta before her, I think it was an uphill battle. Yeah. AEW in general does not book women very well. Mm-hmm. I think Toni Storm started to turn that around, and now that Hayter has such a fan following and people cheering for her, it's absolutely adjusting and turning around even more.
Right.
And I think that match was just great, and it's a testament to Hayter too, because I don't think I've seen a match of hers that I did not enjoy or think, oh my gosh, she's going to kill that person. And the eventual Britt Baker turn on her and all that is the stories they're laying with the former WWE versus the homegrowns and all that. I think is a really good storyline for women's wrestling, and I think it's a really good storyline for AEW to do. Should be very entertaining to see where it goes. Yeah,
you mentioned AEW not giving the women the time, and to the point where the great men and women over there at What Culture are they have their little tracker in a 2-hour show. I think you might see a women's match at an hour and 21 minutes.
Yep,
and it's an hour and 25 minutes. They get 6 minutes, and then they're off TV. So. And I think with Hayter getting the interim piece lifted off of her and not having that cloud hang over her like Toni Storm, she's able to make her title reign what she wants it to be, what she wants it to look like, and it's it's going to be it's getting better and better every episode.
So and you touched on something there, which I think is not by mistake. So AEW to me And yes, like I said, I haven't watched a whole lot of WWE, but I believe they're really good at these long-term sprinkling stories.
Yeah.
So one of the arguments I heard is, why is Toni Storm a heel now? It doesn't make sense. Why would she join the company that made her literally take a cream pie twice, and then she quit on the company, and now she's kind of like, well, I was there with Saraya. But the fact that they put it on Hayter, the championship, and then got rid of the interim, like that's got to burn her a little bit. Yeah. So like the little sprinkles of that story stuff is not bad. Like that. I can see being angry about that. Like, that would make me mad. So I think those little sprinkles in there is pretty neat and pretty telling. Just like in the Hangman Yuta match with him using Moxley's finisher. Right. There's just all kinds of – they do things throughout to just sprinkle in little hints here and there for the storytelling thing.
The discipline they have with storylines.
Oh, it's unreal.
And if you're paying attention – you're picking up the Easter eggs, and then you're picking up little like how you picked up on the Hangman.
Yep.
Using Mox's move. You're like, wait a minute, that's one of Mox's guys.
Yep.
Mox is out, and you're going to do him like that? Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hangman plays this character where he's always kind of like, oh, I shouldn't do that. Like, he's a very interesting character to me. And yeah, that was good stuff. I respect that AEW does some of that stuff. And I will say that the Bloodline thing and some of the stuff WWE is doing seems to be going more towards that. Which is great. I don't know if it's Triple H. I don't know if they've given a little more creative freedom to people, but I do like the Bloodline's a prime example. Like you called it the storyline in wrestling, the best one going right now, and I'd probably agree. Another one popped in my head talking about AEW, and I'll roll this right into the Dynamite review. On Dynamite, you had Brian Danielson taking on Brian Cage, and the whole storyline is break his arm. MJF, hey, I'm paid to break his arm. Well, nobody in the Black Blue Comet Club showed up to help him. He's getting brutalized. And the only person that could possibly have been there would have been Yuta. And I think that wasn't by mistake, because if you go back 3 or 4 months ago, when Yuta was feuding with Daniel Garcia, Bryan Danielson and William Regal at the time were making comments about how good Garcia was, and they wish they'd have picked Garcia. So I could see him being like, yeah, screw him. Let him get hurt. I don't care. Like, he didn't like me in the... Like, yes, we're Blackpool Combat Club. If Moxley was out there, I had to go help. It was Claudio. And those two, because, Moxley's out injured and it wasn't at the show. But that, like, little sprinkle of story in there, like, you can go, well, there's a plot hole. He didn't come out and help. I'm like, but is it a plot hole?
Right, yeah. Is that a plot hole, or is that chapter 1 of the... disintegration of Blackpool, or is it going to be this adversarial love-hate relationship? Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, because all of them in that group are such performers that with a storyline, without a storyline, in the ring, out of the ring, if they come in and do commentary, it's just going to continue on. Yeah, until,
and they're all great wrestlers, right? Which is it just helps a lot of that along. So we'll roll right into the rest of the Dynamite. So Dynamite opened with Action Andretti and Ricky Starks opened the show against the Sex Gods. Great match. I really enjoyed it. Screwy finish at the end, but that's okay. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was pretty good. That cutter that when Starks was walking the top rope and Sammy Guevara showed up out of nowhere and cuttered him off the top rope. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, Sammy's kip ups that he does, the little roll that he does at the end, just so smooth. And Starks every week, his promos are getting better.
Yep.
Andretti, he's cutting his teeth. You can tell he's kind of green because he's constantly yelling.
Yeah.
Ease up on the yelling. Keep the athletic ability coming. But yeah, that was extremely interesting. And like you said, I mean, Garcia outside the ring, you had to have seen something like that.
Yeah. I think speaking of Action Andretti, I think I read he's only done like 10 matches or something ridiculous. He's very green.
Wow.
I'll have to check that up and look it up to make sure. But yeah, I want to say he was extremely green when he beat Jericho. So they got some polishing to do, and that's fine. They'll get there. It'll be great. He reminds me of Will Ospreay.
Wow.
With his in-ring, the things he does, the timing. Not that he's at his level yet, but if you look at a young Will Ospreay when he was running with the Young Bucks and feuding with them, Action Andretti kind of mirrors some of that style and some of the things he does. Now, am I saying he can go have the same kind of match with Omega that they had just recently? Probably not yet, but I can see it down as he progresses.
Wow, so breaking news, this just in, November of 2021.
Yep.
Is when Action Andretti, Tyler Andretti, is his real name. So yeah, that's unbelievable.
Very, very new to the business for sure. Rolled from that into. So I apologize, I didn't take as many notes on Dynamite as I could. I hit the highlights, but they did do. After that match was the tribute video for Jay Briscoe, which I loved. I like that it didn't just focus on wrestling.
Right.
I liked it and I hated it at the same time. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I teared up, like showing his family and him dancing with his daughter and all that stuff was very raw and emotional. And I have to say that from that point on, the show kind of is a blur.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very hard show, I'm sure, for everybody involved. As a matter of fact, I can't even think of some of the other matches other than the Bryan Danielson Christian Cage match.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the one that was just the one at the end.
Right.
Mark Briscoe versus Jay Lethal. What just the strength for Mark Briscoe to go out there on his brother's 39th birthday, a week after losing him,
Mm-hmm.
and perform the way he did. It just absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah.
And the raw emotion on Jay Lethal standing in that ring, when you could tell the guy's crying or about to cry the whole time. I did appreciate, though, and you could tell Mark Briscoe saw it too. So they pushes him into the corner and chops the shit out of him. Oop, I guess we can say that. We'll see. Chops the crap out of him, and kind of you can see not Jay Briscoe. You can see Jay Lethal kind of go, "Oh yeah, I should probably get my act together and have a match," and like it kind of slapped the emotion out of him, and it was great. And just through the match, it's such an emotional match. But that part aside, what a great match!
Excellent match. And when you talk about matches that you want to see or a story that you want to see unfold, the two of them go back 15, 16, maybe even longer years when they were battling back and forth for the Ring of Honor Championship and some of the tag team evolution stuff that they did in Ring of Honor. And it might have been a little bit in Japan too. And just watching that, and it couldn't have been a better, and I'm a big Jay Lethal fan too. I liked the whole machismo thing he did, and when he was with Impact and he would do his Ric Flair shtick, and I think the match went so smoothly considering all the emotions behind the scenes, and like you said, it was so raw. And kudos to Tony and to his leadership team to get a show done with all of the turmoil dealing with the Briscoe name. So.
Yeah, it was. Very, very emotional and very raw. And then when Jay Lethal left the ring, you could tell he'd lost it at that point. Yeah. Very emotional. And it kind of hit me hard because I recently lost a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
So just the emotions of that. And I don't know, man. It was just – so for me, like, I want to say it was my favorite show of the week, but at the same time, that's really hard to because it was so just – I don't even know how to describe it. It was one of those shows that'll probably go down in history as probably the most emotional show I've ever watched as far as wrestling goes. Because I can't think of another time where you see wrestlers crying in the ring the way Jay Lethal was. Then you could see him losing going up the ring. You see Mark Briscoe holding both title belts up. Yeah. What a great tribute to his life and what Jay Briscoe did. And yes, there was some controversy. He said some horrible things on Twitter and all that other stuff, but we've all made mistakes. All that aside, he was a father, he was a brother, he was a husband. So those are the things that I like in the video they paid attention to, not just his wrestling ability. And for those that maybe just watched WWE or just learned him, it's worth going out and check out Ring of Honor and New Japan and the work he did because he was probably one of the best tag teams. I mean, spoiler for when we do our Mount Rushmore episodes, he's on my Mount. Those guys are on my Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely.
Like the stuff they did with the Young Bucks and the stuff they did in New Japan, they're just so phenomenal. So
and the Briscoes and that trilogy that they did with FTR.
Oh, forget about it.
Far and away the best three matches, not tag team, but best three matches between two different group. Whether it was individual or tag team. Just in each one wrote, the bar would raise and raise, and that dog collar match with the Briscoes was, just
probably one of the best dog collar matches I've seen.
Yeah,
it was,
100%.
Yeah, for those that hadn't seen it, worth going out and finding it and tracking it down.
Yeah,
very, very good show. So on that aspect, I think I would call Dynamite my show of the week. I did like Raw. And I would say that if maybe it wasn't a tribute show, and to be honest with you, if maybe the Lethal Mark Briscoe match hadn't taken and they didn't do the tribute part, Raw might have actually taken it this week because I had such a good time watching it.
Right.
But just the emotions and just what they did, I give my show of the week to Dynamite. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I agree. I think just what the show represented, what it meant, and everything that Tony is doing for the Pugh family, and that's Briscoe's real last name is Pugh. What they're doing, and I give them my show of the week. There is a GoFundMe page. It is a Give, Send, Go page. Shout out to Josh Wharton for setting this page up. That's legit. So you can also go on AEW.com. You can go on ProWrestlingTees.com, or you can Google the Briscoe Tribute shirt, and all proceeds are going to the Briscoe family. So that's top shelf right there.
Yeah, 100% of those proceeds. So I encourage anybody to do that. I know times are tough throughout the world right now, but if you can support a little bit, I plan on getting one of the shirts. I wanted to save it to the end because it's probably kind of a downer. It would have felt bad to talk about the tributes and all that other stuff and then go talk about Rampage and SmackDown. So that's kind of why I altered it. But this will be a basic format going forward, guys and girls. Ideally, we'll get these out every Monday. They should go live, reviewing the week ahead of time. Spoiler, we have not watched Royal Rumble yet. We're recording this before the Rumble. We will start to try to do the pay-per-views maybe before, or we'll do a separate one with the pay-per-views. Jer and I are both talking about staying up, watching the Rumble, and then doing a review of it right afterwards, assuming we're not too tired and pass out. That's all I got. You got anything else to close out with?
Hey, thanks, fam, for checking us out. I really appreciate everybody hitting us up on YouTube. And to that fan in Belgium, really appreciate the watches. Hit us up on Twitter, the No Shave Man Cave Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Definitely really appreciate all the love we're seeing. And, you can get all of our podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll be on Apple here shortly. And we'll see you on the floor.
Hey, and as for a quick spoiler, we're going to launch another. We're going to do another episode tonight. It's going to be the matches you would show somebody who's not a wrestling fan or has been out of wrestling to bring them back in. It's a discussion Jared and I have had before. We're going to do a quick special, we'll call it, podcast, and we're going to put that out.
Absolutely. And again, wherever you pick up your podcast, check us out and hit us up on the socials. I really appreciate all the love, and I'll see you on the floor.